Good morning, students. I am Sweta Banerjee, and today I am giving you the lecture for English literature. And today I am giving you the class for the poem "When Lilacs Last Bloomed," and this poem is written by Walt Whitman. And here I am explaining about the poem. This poem is about when lilacs last bloomed. This is the poem by Walt Whitman. Now, regarding Walt Whitman, he is an English American poet, and this poem is about, he is addressing it to Abraham Lincoln, the President of America, and he is addressing this poem on his death, as Abraham Lincoln was passed away, and the poet is in a deep grief. So this poem is regarding the poet's grief. Now, this poem is written in a free verse. Now, what do you mean by free verse? Free verse means that this poem is written in without a rhythm and without a rhyme, and it is just a free flow of poem. And secondly, it is a personal monologue. Now, what is meant by monologue? Monologue represents where the speaker is narrating the poem. It is like a speech, and it has nothing to do with your imagination. It is the real ground, it is on a real ground, and the poem is being narrated by the speaker. There should be a listener, or there should not be a listener, but the poet is narrating this poem. Now, when we go further, this poem is a very long poem, and it is written in 236 lines. It is a very long poem. And why it is a long poem? Because the poet is expressing his grief for Abraham Lincoln, but in the whole poem he has not given or addressed the name of the president. He has just given the name like comrades, and he has not taken the name of the person whom he is addressing this poem. Now, there are three symbols in the stanzas of the poems, and the symbols are bird, star, and lilac. Now, lilac is itself comes in the poem. Now, why lilac? Because the lilac is the lilac color is violent, and the violet, and it is representing violence. Okay, so lilac representing violence, because the poet is expressing his grief for the person whom he is dedicating this poem. Bird, because the birds are singing the song, but the song is of grief. They are singing a sad song. Star, which is Venus. Venus is representing the mourn, the sadness of the poet. The sadness of the poet, because he is expressing his grief. poet's grief. Now, as the poem we see, and the further we move, it represents that the coffin of Abraham Lincoln is passing on his way, and the poet is saluting him. And what he does is that the bird, the star, and lilac, all these three are representing their own with the poet, and they are representing the grief, the sadness, the mourn for Abraham Lincoln as he has passed away. And they are the companions, the bird, the star, and the lilac. These are the companions of poet. These are the companions of poet. Why companions? Because these three are representing the poet's grief, the sadness with which he is going on, and the thing why he has written this poem, When Lilacs Last Bloomed. Now, as we know that it is written in free verse and it is a personal monologue, the poet has expressed his feelings, how the coffin of Abraham Lincoln is moving on, and the last rites are being done, and he is actually in a very sad mood, and he's in his depression, and the poem is all about his grief, his sadness, the sadness of poet. Now, these poems, this is a very lengthy poem, and it has no rhythm, and the meter is also the meter is also not in a free form, full form. So we can say that it is in a more than a speech way that the poem is narrating this poem. And lastly, this is all about this poem is a collection from Drum Trap. Drum Trap is a collection of poems. It has many poems, and this When Lilacs Last Bloomed is a extract of Drum Trap, and we can see that this poem is all about Abraham Lincoln, the president, and the Drum Trap has many poems which are all dedicated to Abraham Lincoln. Walt Whitman is a poet who has given his grief, his sadness to such a beautiful words that we can generalize, we can know what pain he is going through. Also, we can say that this poem is also about the reconciliation of birth and death. Why birth and death? Because the poem is actually explaining that the stars, the lilacs is the symbol of spring. It is the symbol of rebirth also. Death is also the symbol of rebirth. Death is also a symbol of rebirth, a new life. So we can say that death is the symbol of new life, and the poet is giving us imagination of that as the person dies, people suffer. The person who has died never suffer. the people who are there, who love them, who adore them, they suffer a lot. So why he is saying death is the symbol of rebirth? Because the person who has gone will have the rebirth, will be reborn again, but the new life may not get the person, the people who are there beside, may not be there with him, but he will again, the death is always a rebirth. Okay, so that's why he is saying that it is a symbol of rebirth and a new life. So this poem is all about Whitman's death, grief, and his emotions for Abraham Lincoln, the president. And he has also given the symbol of the war, the American Civil War, which was going on there, and which was the main cause for Abraham Lincoln's death. So